Dear World Bank and your sister IMF, austerity just does not cut it. The peoples of the world look up to the World Bank to reduce poverty by offering assistance to middle and low-income countries, and to your sister IMF to oversee the stability of the world's monetary system. However, you've been oblivious of the vulnerability of the people you serve. Instead of giving us bread, you've handed us stones. Instead of fish, you've given us venomous snakes. Instead of eggs, you've fed us on scorpions. How, you may ask? What you call assistance is in reality a burden in form of loans with runaway interest rates. When you fail to pay, instead of debt relief, you prescribe a one-size-fits-all austerity measures such as structure adjustment programs of the 1980s and those that came hot on their heels. For the 75 years you've been in operation, with all the 189 member states as shareholders, we the vulnerable and marginalized have experienced no respite. Social capital is eroding due to runaway inequality and political polarization. People around the world recognize that life is not getting any better. Levels of anxiety, depression, and burnout are skyrocketing across what you have sugar-coated as economies in transition. Full-time employees unable to pay rent, people turning precarious gig work to make ends meet, employers cutting staff and increasing workloads, all have become normal in this system you've created, which extracts natural resources, drains energy and time. You have a society hooked on an economic paradigm based on single-minded pursuit of GDP growth at all costs. This paradigm claims that all people need is more income and consumption without limit, that the market economy can grow forever, that massive inequality is justified, provide incentives to promote growth, and that efforts to address climate and other environmental problems must not interfere with growth. Neoclassical economists at the IMF and elsewhere continue to view a growing GDP as the sign of economic success and even social health. Conversely, ecologists who have studied the issue view a growing GDP as an alarming indicator of unsustainability at this point in history. We call for reforms at the World Bank. Create a new economy based on sustainable prosperity, justice, and sufficiency. Governments must shift from using GDP as their metric of economic growth and move swiftly and urgently to sustainable well-being of people within planetary boundaries. Below are recommendations on how we can design a better measure. Informed by the perspectives of feminists and decolonial thinkers, we identify 5 core dimensions and key indicators to consider. Number 1, measure all economic activity. This must include paid and unpaid, formal and informal, production and services. A critical indicator is time use, a measure pioneered by feminist economists that looks at how people spend their time and captures the labor put into unpaid care work. This needs to be disaggregated by gender, by age, income, race, other dimensions to enable an intersectional analysis. Another key indicator is ecological services and ecological diversity that enable our planet, economies, and societies to thrive. Number 2, Consider how economic activity benefits everyone. Look at intersectional and economic inequality, including how this shift within and between countries in the global north and global south, as well as between class, gendered and racialized groups. Number 3, assess well-being elsewhere. This is in quotes. In other words, the positive or negative impact of our country's policy decisions and resource use on other countries. This should not only measure impact in the present and future, but also how much it redresses past injustice, highlighting, for instance, climate reparations needed from rich polluters to countries in the global south. Number 4, evaluate all dimensions of well-being and social prosperity, such as nutritious diets. For example, the share of the population that can afford a healthy diet. Subjective well-being, how people evaluate their own life. Violence against women. An example is share of women and girls subjected to physical and or sexual violence by an intimate partner in the previous 12 months. Community resilience too, ability to absorb shocks, adapt to sudden changes, and recover. Number 5, local and traditional knowledge and perspectives. Indigenous people and women from the global south need to be centered not only in the creation but also implementation of alternative metrics. Indicators reflecting local knowledge and perspectives need to be meaningfully included and placed front and center in the design, implementation, and analysis of beyond GDP frameworks. These must be rooted in a recognition and acceptance of and commitment to repair the damages caused by colonialism, neocolonialism, and the economic imperialism. Yours sincerely, Gertrude Kausimbi Kenyanji, Support for Women in Agriculture and Environment, a member of the forest-dependent indigenous peoples and local communities in Uganda. Thank you very much.